Hello, everyone, and welcome to Couch Pundits Sports F1 stream. We do this every weekend, pre-race. We're here with you till lights out. And as usual, today I have with me Siddhartha Shetty. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's been a great weekend. Finally, Danny up to some good positions up the grid. So it's fun. It was a great week. It was कुछ भी तो नहीं हुआ. कुछ ट्रांसफर्स हुए. F1 का worst kept secret बाहर निकला. कुछ भी तो नहीं हुआ. मतलब it's a normal weekend. The album वापस आ गया. And Valtteri finally in his notice period. So there's so much to cover in this stream.
There is a lot to cover in the stream. We're going to start with, as usual, looking back at the boring race that was the Dutch GP. And then we're going to talk about some of the transfers, go through qualifying, what happened. There was a sprint race that happened, which of course Bottas won. And we're also definitely going to talk about Jihan Darwala and his F2 sprint victory. I think he's racing right now, or he's just finished his race.
No, he's done.
That. He's done.
He's done. He finished fourth. I think he finished fifth in the feature race.
So that's a good week for him too. And and we have a very special guest with us to take us through the stream today, Sid.
So the guest for today's stream, she's a comedian, she's an influencer, and she is an F1 enthusiast. So guys, give it up for Anchal Agrawal.
Hello, hi Anchal, how are you?
Hello, hi.
What's up? Let me just pretend that we did not speak before that and you didn't brief me at all.
So,
isn't that how show business works? I mean, as Akash has several times pointed out on his streams before, that I am Bahar ka. So isn't this how show business works, where you just pretend like you've not met before?
I don't think you have to pretend like you have not met before, but yeah, you have to pretend like this is just spontaneous and everything is just falling in place, by the universe's grace. And you did not rehearse it at all. You did not talk about it earlier. It's just like very warm chemistry. It's natural.
Absolutely. Let's carry on with that pretense. So how did you like the Dutch GP last week?
So I think did not watch the GP last week, and so I have missed the last two GPs. I did not watch dono मैंने देखा नहीं है, and it's I feel like really left out because I am like an integral part of F1 Twitter, and there are a couple of people with whom I keep chatting and exchanging tweets on the race day. And when I'm not watching, if I'm traveling, I'm out somewhere, it just feels like everyone is having fun and I am not. So you just reminded me of that. And
okay, sorry for that. Then how was it for you last week? Not as bad as Ancha's, I hope.
I think it was the most boring race of this season. Dutch GP was the most boring race of this season because कुछ नहीं हुआ. Like कुछ भी नहीं हुआ race में. Like it was just the proceedings that happened, and मुझे वो एक अच्छा लगा that Valtteri went for the fastest lap. Like it was pretty evident कि मैं notice period में हूँ अभी. He was told to abort the fastest lap by the engineer and he went for it. तो मतलब वो एक चीज था. That's all. Like that GP was, I think, after we can say after the Portuguese GP, I think this was the most boring race.
Agreed with you. Absolutely agree.
All of them have been interesting. All of them have been interesting on some level, like overtakes, undercuts that we have had, but काफी boring था. So I hope आज का Monza is always interesting because even the F2 race that we had today, the feature race that we had today was so interesting. Like especially people have watched the F2 race in the chat. Like especially the overtake and the fight between Guan Yu Zhou and Jihan Darwala, and Jihan drove really well and he's had a good season. So I think ये भी मस्त होगा. अपना आज का भी रेस अच्छा होगा.
Yeah, there's lots of people in the chat. Utkarsh and Siddharth was saying it was a good race. They didn't think it was boring because it was all about strategies.
Yeah.
There were some pit stop strategies that were relevant in that race because otherwise the track was fairly straightforward in the sense not too many overtaking points. So strategy wise, you think in spite of the fact that Mercedes had 2 and 3 on the grid, they could not put Max under pressure?
I think I think what happened here was उन्होंने सोचा ही नहीं McLaren वो जो like Lewis Hamilton had a very bad start and Lando overtook him. तो उन्होंने वो एलिमेंट सोचा ही नहीं, वो एलिमेंट ऑफ सरप्राइज सोचा ही नहीं. मैंने एक मीम देखा है कि मतलब ऐसे कि वो ऐसे थॉर का, ठीक है, तो उसमें ऐसे रेडबुल वाला बोल रहा है कि वी कांट डिफीट यू बट ही कैन. ऐसे कुछ पीछे से ऐसे कोई डीमन को बताया वो मैक्लारेन है.
तू किसका बात कर रहा है सिड?
स्प्रिंट रेस
का बात मैं डच जीपी का बात कर रहा है.
डच जीपी का मैं बोलेंगे कुछ नहीं, इतना बोरिंग रेस है. लाइक क्या बोलूं मैं.
Don't you think all races this season have been boring except for the British GP? Like all races have been kind of like, similar. Only this one GP where, we never even had a GP.
Azerbaijan was very exciting.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, Baku GP was exciting.
French.
So I think Baku GP was exciting and I had missed that GP also. So I am now left out. I think I should like start traveling lesser so I can like catch GPs. But
yeah.
For today's GP, I'm like kind of really excited because I think that, every time I do not watch a qualifying, Ricardo qualifies like really well. So I did not watch the qualifying yesterday and day before yesterday. Both days I did not watch sprint qualifying, and I knew okay. And now it's like you're super stupid, weird superstition. Someone has like okayed it and validated it. So today's race I'm like really excited, but I think the entire season has been kind of boring. Other than the British GP, of course, Baku GP was great, but I did not watch it. And today's I think is going to be like a kick-ass this thing because. Like you said, for Lewis Hamilton, McLaren was out of syllabus. I don't think that he ever thought that, in a Mercedes-dominated track where, they should be the heroes, there will be two McLarens defending him throughout the race, and how Lando defeated it for Ricardo also. It's like commendable. I really want to see how Lewis, from that position, he just gets to the podium position if he gets to. But yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to look forward to in this race also. Like you said, Lewis Hamilton का काफी गुस्से में लग रहा था कल भी after the sprint race. We'll get to that, but before that there's some chat and I want to address this. There are some transfers that took place this week. There were some contracts that were finally signed in the case of George Russell, where he finally took that Mercedes seat. Anchal, did you expect this?
I think I was quite sure because it's the worst kept secret. They were dropping hints all the time, and everybody knew that the way Bottas was getting through the team, he was going to move on because they announced Hamilton also. They did not announce the second seat, and of course they had to keep that momentum going because of course it's in the end it's all about PR. So I was quite sure that Bottas is going to go to some other team, and when Kimi announced he is going to retire, it made it quite evident that it is going to be Bottas who will take the first seat in Alfa Romeo because this is my personal opinion, and I think I read a couple of articles about it as well, that as far as I know, Bottas was, I think, offered a seat at Williams. He was offered a return to Williams, but I think he did not take that, and he went to Alfa Romeo instead, which we all know obviously why. So the whole progression of Bottas' season, it literally shouted it out loud that he is going to go, and now the way he's behaving and now the way he's performing, he is out there to let you know that he has it in him, and I think he's going to do great at Alfa Romeo also building the team.
Speaking of Alfa Romeo, Sid, there's a question for you in the chat. Lamp Camper is asking, he heard you on a certain stream saying Giovinazzi is going to leave Alfa Romeo or they're going to kick him out. After his performances in the last couple of weeks, do you still think it's true? And if so, do you think it'll be wise?
See, there are two factors to it. I think Giovinazzi is a Ferrari Academy driver, and Matteo Binotto has grown some spine, and he's spoken about that this guy being a Ferrari Academy driver, they expect that Alfa and they being a customer team, they expect that they kind of look after Giovinazzi. So I think they will give it a second thought, and because see, he's had an abysmal season. So 2 races doesn't justify a seat for 2022. So if you look at the options that they have Guan Yu Zhou, who's a great driver. He's been doing great in Formula 2, and he comes with a lot of backing. He comes with 30 million euros, guys. Like itna paisa, andha paisa Chinese log ke paas hai. Okay? And apart from that, then you have Nick De Vries also, who won Formula E. So I really don't know. Like, it totally depends upon how he performs today at Monza, because again, he's pushed the car really well, and
got into Q3 two races in a row.
Yeah, so it's like ये Giovinazzi का हमेशा का रहता है कि पिछले 2 सालों से ऐसा रहा है कि उसका सीट खतरे में रहा है, बोल रहे हैं कि Giovinazzi को निकालेंगे और फिर उसको लास्ट में रखा है. So I feel this year I think they will let him go, because
even I think that they will let him go, because if the fear of losing a seat is kicking in performance in you, it's kind of like it's something that a team doesn't want to instill in a driver every year, right? So like Siddharth also rightly said that 2 saal se uska wo ho raha hai, and this year also the moment it started doing rounds in the news that Giovinazzi might lose his seat to these 2 other young drivers who also come with a very good backing, he has started to perform really well. And that is not something that a team kind of hangs on and works forward with. So मुझे भी ऐसा लगता है कि I think they will let him go, but I think he'll have good opportunities in other formats, and I think he'll have good opportunities considering he is a Ferrari Academy driver. But I think for Formula 1 next year, it's not Giovinazzi for Alfa Romeo.
Okay. If you guys are just joining us, we're doing the F1 stream pre-race Monza. Lots to look forward to. I'm joined by Siddhartha Shetty and Anchal Agrawal. Please hit the like button on the stream, guys. It helps with the algorithm stuff. Okay, coming back. Other than this, were there any surprises? Alex Albon coming back. It's good to have him back. There was that whole thing last week where Christian Horner accused Toto Wolff of blocking Albon from coming back into F1, and now this week he's back. So are you surprised by that, Anchal?
I think Christian Horner accusing anyone of blocking Alex Albon is an ironic statement in itself, because Christian Horner did give him Pierre Gasly's seat, and then they made him also sit on the bench, and they gave Sergio Perez. It's like a team which is never sure about their second driver. They're never sure. They're always thinking of, okay, this person has performed well in 2 races, so let me have this person. Then maybe, so there will always be drivers who will perform well in 2-3 races every season. You can't just put your everything onto that driver and whatever asset you already have and put them on the bench and then accuse someone else of not blocking their way into F1. And also, I personally think that from where Toto Wolff is coming, it's their biggest asset. It's their engine. They are not going to have a Red Bull contract driver have their engine right and have all whatever development happens in the car. So he was right in his place. And I think Toto Wolff asked for a very valid thing, that we wouldn't let him have this Mercedes engine without with being him in the Red Bull contract, and if Red Bull lets him go, we'll do it. So I think it was Christian Horner himself who was blocking his way. He was not letting him drive. You could have let him go. And now also I think he's still under the Red Bull contract, but there are some like very stringent clauses that protects Mercedes's IP. तो मुझे लगता है कि Christian Horner की जो उसका statement था, I think it was very ironic, and I really hope that he meant it as a joke. But I think Alex is very lucky that he got that Williams seat, because there are many contenders for that Williams seat as well.
Yeah.
And we see how the team has been putting so much into building the team and bringing it to the midfield again. So मुझे लगता है कि it's just he got very lucky, and he got this very lucky second chance. So I think Toto Wolff, if at all, if anything that he did, he actually made his second innings possible in F1. He did not block it. It's what I feel.
Yeah, there's some conversation in the chat also. Utkarsh is saying they didn't say Red Bull are saying they still have ties with Albon, whatever that means. But there was also this weird rumor at some point, I think here, where Mercedes has still not renewed Bottas's contract, and he was linked with Red Bull. At which point, once that rumor started, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Red Bull was going to take Bottas's Mercedes wouldn't this year. So
I think
it was really
I
weird.
think the rumor was for Charles. It was not for Bottas, because I'm very sure that after being in Bottas's position, Bottas wouldn't want to change his just the team name and be in the same position again. So I'm very sure that there was no conversation there. But for Red Bull, I think I read a news article today only wherein they sent someone to talk to Charles for the second seat, but he refused to get into any conversation. And I think that was very weird also, considering we know that how loyal Charles is to Ferrari and the things that he wants to achieve with the team. So I had heard about that. Plus, the Red Bull ties thing that you have said, Red Bull has not let him go off the contract completely. That's true. There are multiple news articles about that, and they have spoken about it, that there are stringent clauses where where the Mercedes IPs is protected, but I don't think that he is completely off the Red Bull contract.
Sid?
I agree with Anchal, is that it's Christian Horner thoda Rotulu type hai. Matlab over the years hamesha rota rehta hai Christian. Or thing is that again, agar Christian Horner has been again saying that Albon is one of our most coveted properties, and हम लोग का टीम का बहुत अच्छा ड्राइवर है, काफी टाइम से हम लोगों ने उसको ग्रूम किया है. तो अगर आप लोग ग्रूम कर रहे हो तो आप लोग के you yourself had four seats in your team. उन्होंने उसमें से एक भी सीट उसको दिया नहीं, ठीक है. और पहली बात तो आप लोग बहुत सबसे इनसिक्योर और सबसे टॉक्सिक टीम है रेड बुल, because the way it's very toxic, because even if you look at their junior driver program, वहाँ पे वो लोग एक ड्राइवर को लेते हैं 1 साल के लिए, फिर निकाल देते हैं. डैन टिक्टम को लिया 1 साल के लिए और निकाल दिया. डैन टिक्टम सच अ गुड टैलेंट. डैन टिक्टम इंसान थोड़ा सा पागल है, चैट वैट पे कुछ भी लिख देता है, बट ठीक है. But it's just that because Christian Horner and Helmut Marko का मेरे को पता नहीं. I was shocked with the Perez announcement. मुझे लगा कि Perez का announcement वो लोग थोड़ा delay करेंगे, but it's great that they have announced Perez को एक reassurance है कि भाई अगले साल भी है वो, so that he can it's an added incentive for him that he can perform. And I was also surprised with the Tsunoda, because Tsunoda ने कुछ statement दिया after being signed again for a year that मैंने इतना crash किया, and I'm myself surprised that I got a seat for 2022. So Red Bull has always been like that, and I'm so happy for Albon, because he's back with Nicky and Albon used to drive for Dams back in the days in 2018. So he's back in a team where he'll be taken care of. And if from what we have seen, the way George has driven the car, and Albon again is a great driver. He has great race pace. So we can always see that Albon will also be doing wonders with that car, and with Nicky also kind of getting into form in the second part of the season. So I think Williams are looking up into the midfield. So काफी अच्छा move that. It's a very sweet thing, and everyone is very happy about it. So it's Like Albon is like, वो Albon का personality ऐसा ना, बेचारा type लगता है ना. It's like ऐसे एकदम कि इसका अच्छा होना चाहिए, इसका कुछ बुरा नहीं होना चाहिए.
And the Albon episode on Drive to Survive was also like that. The narrative and the story arc was built like, he has gone through so much. So you always root for the underdog. So, it's that also with him. But I completely agree with the Red Bull environment thing. I think Red Bull is one of, like, it's like a championship contender car. And if a driver chooses to leave that team and go to a team which is not a championship contender car, it speaks volumes about the work culture. It speaks volumes about, what a driver goes through mentally in a team like that. So I'm really sure that it's a new opportunity and a very good opportunity for Albon, despite the fact that it is like, not like a much better car or even a car at par, but it still is a car. Not just sit on a bench and recreate scenarios where you just put in shit on the internet to prove a point.
Yeah. There's someone in the chat. Utkarsh is saying he's surprised Tsunoda has retained his seat and he out-qualified Russell for the first time yesterday. But his lap time was deleted and then Russell got into Q2 ahead of Tsunoda. So he's still not out-qualified Russell. But are you guys surprised by Tsunoda retaining his seat? I think him and Gasly are forming a good partnership.
Yeah.
I think him and Gasly are forming a good partnership, yes. But I also think that Gasly is performing much better than Tsunoda. So given the fact that there are so many young talents, as at par with Tsunoda, who are actually waiting for an F1 seat with that kind of backing, Tsunoda got to retain a seat, and that also speaks a lot about how the team wants to put in some more effort into him to because they see some potential in him. But I genuinely think that I am personally surprised. But of course, if they have retained him, they have some plans with him, and we'll see that next year.
Yeah,
because I think it is again Red Bull. अगर Tsunoda perform नहीं करता है 2022 में, तो उसको बीच में लोग या तो जूनियर टीम से लियम लॉसन या यूरी विप्स को बुला लेंगे और बोलेंगे चलाओ भाई, अपनी गाड़ी है, चलाओ, घर की गाड़ी है. So it's like Tsunoda only had 1 year in F2, then he was called. मुझे लगता है again, मेरे को लगता है कि वो Albert. I think it is the team principal of AlphaTauri, Franz Tost, has a thing for Tsunoda कि रे भाई इसको थोड़ा टाइम देना चाहिए. I think that's. मेरे को लगता है अगर
I think he's a good talented driver as well. I just think that he doesn't have the same maturity as Pierre Gasly, and he just doesn't have that same drive and same hunger that Pierre Gasly has, especially because he was demoted to the sister team and he wants to prove more. So the only drawback that Tsunoda has is he has a team member who is so much more hungry for success and who is of course at the same time talented as well. So I think he just needs to build that maturity and that kind of ambition in him to be at par with his teammate or out qualify him. And I think he has enough talent and techniques to do that.
Absolutely. And the only thing is वो गाली बहुत देता है और किसी को भी कभी भी गाली दे देता है वो.
Temperament issue है.
Yeah. Yuki is a rookie but is doing fabulous for AT AlphaTauri. Okay, his relationship with Pierre is also excellent. Yes, that's true. But Utkarsh seems to think Yuki isn't doing a good job in any way. He barely gets out of Q1 in the recent races. Yes, but he did so well in Bahrain. That was one of his first races and he did pretty well. उसमें मतलब potential है.
Yeah.
So I think it won't hurt AlphaTauri to invest in him for one more year just to see where this is going. Because he's got he's very fast. To crash a little lesser now, which is always a good thing. So hot-headed, but it pays to be like that sometimes. Moving on,
I personally think that him being a hot-headed person, I think it has nothing to do with the fact how he drives. So it's just something that we get to see in the news, we get to see in content, memes, and on pages, Formula 1 pages. But I don't think that has anything that hampers the way he drives or anything. In fact, I think in a very competitive sport like that, being angry kind of fuels what you have, like how Pierre Gasly performed after, he was demoted. So I don't think that it is something that we should even consider talking when we are talking about him.
Yeah.
That can be part of his personality, but that doesn't affect his driving. So that can always be. So talking about crashes, मेरे को वही था कि
who there were yesterday.
I think Sainz पिछले 3 रेसेस में गाड़ी ठोक चुका है. मेरे को लगता है फेरारी मतलब फुल बिल बना रहा है. फेरारी बोलेगा साइंस को, भाई तुम आए थे अच्छे से चला रहे थे, अभी ये क्या कर रहे हो. तीनों रेस में उसने मतलब अभी कितना खर्चा होता है पता है. लाइक उसने बुरी तरीके से गाड़ी ठोका है तीनों रेसेस में. तो इट्स लाइक यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट क्रैशेस, तो मतलब कि साइंस का बात कर ही लेते हैं हम लोग, फेरारी का भी बात कर लेते हैं थोड़ा. सो लाइक फेरारी लाइक मैक्लारेन हैज रन अवे विद द कंपटीशन. आई थिंक मेरे को लग रहा है कि फेरारी इन I don't know what Ferrari is doing and or what Ferrari is up to, because they had an engine upgrade after the summer break and they have lost race pace. तो मेरे को ये समझ ही नहीं आ रहा ये कौन सा अपग्रेड है जिससे गाड़ी स्लो हो रहा है आपका. ये क्या है मतलब ये कौन सा मतलब गोलमाल में पता है वैसे गाड़ी तो फिनिश लाइन के पहले रुक जाती है. मतलब ये क्या है. I mean ये अपग्रेड.
I just remembered that scene and Sharman Joshi dressed as a woman. Oh my god.
I was like I don't know what Ferrari is up to, yaar. I mean, they have to get their thing together.
But I think they have to get their thing together ever since they signed Vettel. So it's like they really, now it's like high time they have to get their thing together.
Yeah, because like because ये साल के starting में the way they started, they looked really good. Like the amount of pace they had in Monaco, उसके बाद even in Baku pole पे था Leclerc. So it was like they had good race pace. उसके बाद एकदम से पता नहीं, it is very whimsical. Even I think this happened this happened not in Hungaroring. This happened at Silverstone में I think this he was losing power. Leclerc was losing power like while driving was losing power and he was losing a lot of time. So I was like ये हो क्या रहा है, मतलब Ferrari कर क्या रहा है in the sense. So and I think we've lost Dhaval because there's a little bit of network issues. So I'll so here at Couch Pundits we have a theory, ठीक है, कि लुइस हैमिल्टन ने एक इंजीनियर को अपॉइंट किया है, ठीक है, जो बोटास की गाड़ी को जाके हथौड़े से मारता है.
What is this यार सिद्धार्थ.
ये ऐसा कुछ तो करता है वो, मतलब ऐसे पंचर.
I'm sure ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. I actually wouldn't be surprised if Lewis Hamilton hired an engineer to help him do even better other than what resources he's getting in the team. I'm sure he is that kind of a person, but I'm very sure he's not hampering or he's not damaging anyone else's work or anything. But I actually think, now that you have said, I think this should be a theory that maybe Lewis Hamilton has a separate team of himself working to help him get better other than the resources that he's getting in the team. But this, no, yaar, Siddharth.
मेरे को लगता है ऐसे थोड़ा मतलब ऐसे थोड़ा ऐसे aerodynamics बिगाड़ रहा है गाड़ी का थोड़ा, ऐसे ज्यादा नहीं.
But there is nothing wrong with his car. Like, Bottas performs well. It's not like Bottas is a bad performer. You just compare him with Lewis Hamilton all the time. You just compare him because of the car he has.
Yeah.
But of course, he is also a team player. He's not driving for himself. Like you see, if like Lewis is winning 7 championships, he has to maybe he has to break a record which is of 8 championships, and the team has to break a record of 8 championships and all that. So of course, as a team player, you will give that edge to someone who is already ahead of you. But
absolutely,
but if you compare Bottas to the rest of the grid, he's performing well. He is not a bad performer. He's
a great driver.
He's getting his team points. And now in Monza, so they have given Bottas the engine, the new engine, because they know that Bottas is the one who can actually get them the team points, who can actually win this for them. Right. So he is a good performer. It's just, I think all these theories and all these fan fiction and whatever is going around on the internet is just because people keep comparing Bottas to Hamilton or Bottas to other drivers who at Mercedes or the team's car or anything. But I think as a team player, as someone who's a part of the team and who has to, of course, take and follow team orders, he's doing pretty well.
वैसे तो Bottas
sometimes because the team really treats him a little like as a second driver. Like he knows, he's constantly made to know that he's the second driver, which just makes quite off. Quite run into team or even if it's bad for himself.
I think net ka issue hai. You broke in between. Yeah, like I think what Dhaval was saying is that he's always made to feel like when Rosberg was there, he was not made to feel because that they had they had to maintain a balance. Here there's a clear
But
divide.
Rosberg had different priorities, na Siddharth. Rosberg was a different person. Rosberg grew up with Lewis Hamilton. They did karting together. Unke sare championship, unke sare all levels they did together. So Rosberg knew Hamilton inside out, and he had those tricks and tips in under his hat to actually play Hamilton. And I personally think that is how he won that championship that he won, because he knew how to play with Hamilton outside of the track as well. And Bottas is not that person. Bottas is a different person. He has different priorities. Maybe it's just that we think that everyone's priority is the same. Like Rosberg also, he retired after winning that championship. Maybe his priority was just winning one championship. And he did that. For Lewis Hamilton, maybe his priority is to win 8 championships so that he just breaks all records. Because if Lewis Hamilton wins 8 championships, I'm sure that for many decades, there will not be one person who will win 8 championships and break his record. For many decades, it's not going to happen. So I think that's his priority. He just wants to make his name. And he also is fueled by a lot of things, a lot of injustice and discrimination, a lot of, racial abuse and all, which happens till date. Every time Mercedes wins, even if by if rightly or whatever, we see what happens on Twitter by people who are actually important key people in Formula One. They are publicly doing this. So fans ka to hum bol bhi nahi sakte. So exactly. I genuinely think that Bottas doesn't have that kind of priority, or he is aware of what his position in the team is, and being aware of what your position in the team is and playing along also, I think it's a great team player.
Yes, that's really right, because again I feel because Bottas knows his role in the team very well.
Yeah,
that was very carved out, and I really don't know how the dynamics will change when Russell goes into the team. I don't know how that will happen, because Russell is someone who will settle for nothing less than a win a race. So I don't know how that will play out. Thoda auto ke liye mushkil ho sakta hai to control.
But do you think that's true? Like, do you believe it?
I think when Russell goes to the team, this is my assumption and my my hope that I think when Russell goes to the team, I think Hamilton will be taking a back seat, because now Hamilton has achieved whatever he wants to achieve, right? And maybe if this year he wins the championship, then the next year is not as fueling for him. The next year he's not as hungry, because he has done what he wanted to do. So there is a very good chance that maybe he retires next year, or there's a very good chance that maybe he takes a side seat next year, or he is just okay with having a 50-50 game in the teammates. Whoever is the best person then does well. There are no orders when Russell has to step back, how we hear orders to Bottas on the team radio. So I think with Russell that will not happen, because by that time Hamilton will also kind of tone down, and he would have achieved everything by then.
But you're assuming that he's going to win this year. What if he doesn't?
I don't know. What if he doesn't? He'll win next year. And Russell is in a multi-year contract. Russell is not going anywhere the next year. We know Toto is fond of Russell. We know that Russell is an excellent driver. We know that every time an opportunity has an opportunity arises in Mercedes, Russell was the first choice, even for the internet before they announced. So we know that Russell is not going anywhere, at least for a couple of years. So that's for sure. He has enough time to, and I think it's a very good opportunity for him also to learn from the Hamilton. All said and done, Hamilton is a legend in F1. Yeah. And if you are driving alongside him, even as a second driver, at the age of 23, you are actually learning a lot, even if you're not just going to win a championship. If this person so I think all those learnings he can apply maybe in the second year or the third year. And what I see from Russell's interviews and what Russell has been talking about, I think he is there in for the longer game. He's not there for just his 2022 season and how team treats him in comparison to Lewis Hamilton. I think he's there in for the longer game, and for him with Lewis there is a lot of learning for sure.
Yeah, because I totally agree with the learning part of it, because if you go to see McLaren mein, Lando started out his rookie season with Alonso, and Lando turned out to be such a fine driver, and Hamilton started his rookie season with Alonso, and you get to learn a lot from these drivers, but हम लोग ये assume कर रहे हैं कि Mercedes will have a great car next year, because
that is actually a very good point. Even I've been thinking about that this is the assumption that they'll have a great car next year. But you know what, Siddharth, what I have to add to this is Mercedes is a very hard-working and focused team. So they are putting everything that they have as a team, not just individually. Like what works for them is all departments work, smoothly together. They blend in really well. And that is how the performance that they bring out. Even the departments which are not concerned about the team or technicalities, like the social media team, like the communications team, everything works well together. So I think this is what works for Mercedes, and that is why they are able to bring that kind of performance from their car and from their drivers also. So I think they, of course, have an advantage the next year also, because they have a lot of budget also. The team is also really big. They have like a very big crew as compared to other teams, even Red Bull. So I think, of course, there is a doubt that we are assuming that they'll have a great car, but I think Mercedes having a great car is actually a far better, probability than other teams having a great car.
Because next year there'll be budget caps, like all teams will be having 145 million to spend, and I see Mercedes already is a great team. Turbo hybrid era mein, they performed really well. They've had a great car. Before that they struggled. Before turbo hybrid era they struggled. So next year, like the way McLaren and the kind of race pace that Red Bull has shown this season. So it'll all depend, because next year, it's not for Mercedes, for all the teams. It will be something that it is a testing time. 2022, मुझे लग रहा है, is a very interesting season, because it is everybody's season.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about midfield, when you talk about McLaren has good race pace, so it can be McLaren's season. So because Zach Brown has promised Daniel that he will be having a championship winning car by 2022. ये तो sign होने के पहले when जब उसने sign किया था तभी बोला था. तो सब लोग के लिए नया season है 2022. So you never know because new regulations, new rules, and you never know like which team may kind of up their game. You never know. Someone like McLaren or someone like Ferrari again would kind of would be able to dig themselves out of the way. So
I totally agree to that, and what I feel is like for the next year, I think McLaren, Ferrari and the midfield cars have a better advantage than Mercedes, because they actually started putting in efforts in their 2020 car in this season and in the previous season, because they knew that they do not have that superior advantage, and they do not have that race pace or the car that can compete with Red Bull or with Mercedes. So they were already ahead of Mercedes and ahead of Red Bull for their 2022 car, and they were ahead of Mercedes, especially for McLaren. They were ahead of all these teams in terms of their signing also. They have signed their contract with Lando Norris, with Daniel Ricciardo, everyone. So This season, is kind of a practice season for these teams to actually come and do better in 2022 season, where the playing field is leveled. So they actually have some sort of advantage in terms of the drivers they have. Because if you see, Mercedes has a new driver, Alfa Romeo has a new drivers, Williams has new drivers. So many teams have new drivers. But for McLaren and Ferrari, their drivers are going to be the same. And they have been putting efforts in their 2022 car, in the development and research for their 2022 car and team. Abhi se. So that kind of gives them an edge. And I genuinely think that McLaren is going to do really well in 2022, 23 and 24 also.
Lots to look forward to then for the next year, but we're getting close to lights out right now. So let's talk a little bit about what happened this weekend. There was this is a sprint qualifying weekend, and so there was qualifying on Friday, which Bottas won. So he started P1 during the sprint race and he finished P1, but because of his grid penalty, his new power unit, his new engine, he's going to start the race at P19, and Gasly is going to start from the pits. So a good weekend for Bottas, I would say, getting 3 championship points also. And given that he's, like Siddharth said earlier as well, sort of serving his notice period, he's going to give it his all, as he always does, professional that he is. So I am expecting him to fight from the back of the grid and most likely finish in points. At the post sprint race interview, they asked him what is possible, and he said podium is possible, but I'm not going to say anything. So I am really excited for Bottas today. He's got a good car, and he's got good laps in him since the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Other than that, there is obviously the fact that Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen have locked out the front row. Thoughts on that, guys?
I am living for this day. I think it's every McLaren, every Daniel Ricciardo fan's dream come true. It's like people are living for this day. You won't believe the kind of, happiness was there all around on Instagram and Twitter yesterday when, Daniel Ricciardo was, of course, he was P3, but now he's going to start at P2. So it's something that, it's the Daniel Ricciardo that you actually missed. The overtaking Daniel Ricciardo, who's just like, going out there, the honey badger thing in him. So I personally think that if nothing goes wrong, and by nothing, I mean nothing technical or nothing, in terms of the car goes wrong, I think Daniel Ricciardo is on the podium. And I also think that Bottas is finishing top 5 if nothing goes wrong in his car also. So Bottas का भी अच्छा chance है. Team ने उसको power unit engine नया दिया ही इसलिए क्योंकि उसका अच्छा chance है. They have taken that penalty because he has a very good chance. So I really feel that today Daniel Ricciardo and Bottas have a chance of being on the podium. Of course, Verstappen is there. I just hope that in desperation, Bottas doesn't end up doing something like, kicking everyone out of the race like he did earlier. So if something like that doesn't happen, I think Daniel Ricciardo, Bottas, both of them can be on the podium today.
Daniel Ricciardo and Bottas. That'll be quite something. But Sid, I have a technical question for you. Now, we saw this with Hamilton in the sprint race ka start. There seemed to be a lockup, or what was it? Tire spin, wheel spin. He had a wheel spin at the start, so he didn't have the best start during the sprint race, and everyone overtook him. Do you think there is less grip on that side of the track?
I really don't
where
know.
Ricciardo is going to be starting.
I don't know if there's because we have had 2 races. We have had a sprint race and we have had a feature race today. So there'll be a lot of rubber on the track, and so the problem of grip shouldn't be there. And this is not like even it's a very cold. It's 20 to 23 degrees there, and the track temperature was not that much. So we really don't know how that will play out. And as rightly Anchal said, I expect Bottas to finish in top 5. And अभी Daniel Ricciardo को क्या बोलूँ, पूरे नहीं समझ पा रहा हूँ. मतलब एकदम I was like I pinched myself.
यार बोलो मत कुछ. पता है, I think हमको बोलना ही नहीं चाहिए. That is the jinx that we've been putting on him all this season. I think let's just not jinx it. Let's just keep our shoes and beer ready, and that's all we can do for him.
मैं कुछ नहीं बोला, जिंक्स नहीं करना है like रिकार्डो के लिए तो.
More than anybody, it's the Netflix crew that is waiting for Ricardo to finish on the podium, because it's going to give them an entire season's worth of content.
They are with Ricardo with McLaren this weekend.
No, they're I don't know where they are this weekend. Actually.
Oh, so you're saying just for the story arc?
They were
just for the story arc, right?
Yeah.
Just for the story. They
just for the story
they were
arc.
there during Russell's signing ceremony, like when Russell signed. So Rosberg ne bola tha ki there was a certain team of a certain OTT platform which was present. उसने Netflix का नाम नहीं लिया, but they were there. तो थोड़ा
Rosberg said this, no?
Rosberg ने बोला था. While he was signing.
Of course, it's one of the biggest events. Of course, they were going to be there. I won't be surprised if it was planned accordingly. How they did, Bottas announced his exit first, and then they announced Russell's entry. So that was also very, a very generous thing and a very big lesson in PR, how you handle things like that, because everyone was like, they're kicking out Bottas for him, but they first made sure that Bottas announces his, exit and his team, his next team, so that he is there in the season, in the Formula One next season, and then they, announced Russell's this thing, even though it was signed like much earlier. So that it was like that, Kimi retired, Bottas gaya, Russell aaya, and this entire that's how the events were panned out. So of course Netflix knows about all that, and of course Netflix is going to be there for all these things. For Kimi's retirement also, of course they will have something, because they have so much, such a big story arc for Kimi, which is also like a very dry, dark humor thing, because we all know how Kimi is. So it's a very different kind of episode if they actually end up doing one on him.
Yeah.
Why is everyone silent?
No, I think there was a little bit of network issue on your end, but I think it's better now.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We'll work with it. Somebody's saying, there's this chat who's saying your voice is cracking. We'll just figure that out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Coming back, other than Daniel Ricciardo, there's also Lando Norris, who's right behind him with Hamilton. So that's 3 and 4, Norris and Hamilton. Then it's the 2 Ferraris, Leclerc and Sainz. So it's going to be a quick start. There's going to be a lots happening in the first lap. And as we saw yesterday, there are a few overtaking spots, but Monza is not one of those tracks where a lot of overtaking also happens, right?
Yeah.
So track positioning is going to be very important here.
The first corner, it all depends, because the first corner is where the cars get a little crowded. So totally depends on, and if someone locks up at the first corner, then I don't know which way it will go. So I'm not hoping that we have a red flag this race, or a safety car. I think I really hope we have a clean race, and you never know Norris, if Norris may have a good start, because वो rivalry तो रहेगा, वो mental block तो रहेगा कि Norris है पीछे, and so.
No, but I think I think Norris being behind Ricciardo and being in front of Hamilton is actually a very good position, a very good situation for McLaren to be in, because despite the team rivalry, there is no animosity between these two drivers. So I think Norris will in fact defend Hamilton for Ricciardo, so that that both the drivers can have a good finish. And that is actually a better finish for the team, because in the end, you have to see what your team's result is also, right? And finishing on the podium 1 or 2, or whatever, 1 or 2 back won't be that big a deal for McLaren, because this is, I think, the best scenario McLaren is in since the the season started. पूरे season में उनका सबसे अच्छा finish for both drivers यही रहेगा.
Front row,
so their priority, I think, will be both the drivers finish top 5.
Yeah.
and then that of course says that whoever is, I think, in the piche wala position will of course defend Hamilton for the previous
I think your
person, and that
voice
can be reversed also.
breaking up thoda.
हो सकता है कि throughout the race Norris overtake कर ले, Ricardo पीछे आ जाए, whatever it is, but I think they will keep defending, the entire race for the team's result. My voice is, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि just keep it.
Yeah, no, there's some issues with your audio and your video also right now.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just let you figure that one out. Meanwhile, Sid, other than these guys, there's also Perez in the top 8. He's starting P8 today. So he can make up a few spots at the start and provide that much necessary support to Verstappen. But Red Bull, generally, this is not their favorite track. They are not, even you saw through qualifying and even in the sprint race that they were struggling a little bit. Perez, yes, he made up quite a few spots during the sprint, but still Verstappen not up to his usual standards. And I would not be surprised.
There's a 4-second gap between Mercedes and Red Bull, so that deficit is
gap.
That's a massive gap. So we really don't know how that'll work out for Verstappen. So especially luckily Alonso's looking really great. Alonso also, we have talked about Alonso also because Alonso sprint race में Alonso एकदम T20 player बन चुका है. मतलब sprint में बढ़िया, मतलब Alonso एक अच्छा सा racing line पकड़ लेता है और अपना कर लेता है. तो so let's see.
Yeah, it's less than 10 minutes to lights out. To be precise, 7 minutes to lights out, and we're here with you till lights out. So stick around, and if you're new around here, subscribe to the channel and like the stream while you're at it. Okay, Alonso, you said Vettel is starting 11, Ocon 12, Latifi 13 and Russell 14. Sorry, Utkarsh earlier in the chat was talking about Latifi having out-qualified Russell, which is for the first time this season. Then it's Tsunoda, Mazepin, Kubica, Schumacher, and Bottas. And as we said earlier, Gasly is going to start from the pits. Vettel 11th. Do you expect him to finish in the points today?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I definitely think. I think for Vettel, it's either P7, P8 or something, some position like that, but he's in points.
Yeah. Sid?
Yeah, because Vettel has been looking good, so he has the tire choice. So,
isn't it free tire choice for the sprint race? It was free tire choice, right?
Yeah.
And for this, what are they going to use?
इसके लिए तो I think they'll start with softs. मुझे लगता है one pit strategy के साथ जाएगा अपना Aston Martin. So I think Vettel P8, P9.
P8, P9. Lance Stroll starting much ahead of Vettel. He's starting at P9 himself.
Giovinazzi 8th, na? Giovinazzi is 8th.
Giovinazzi is 7th.
7th. He'll drop places. He'll drop places eventually.
Yeah, he'll drop places.
So क्यों उतना पेस नहीं है क्या उसका?
Last time भी तो he drop places.
That's true. Start में वो drop करता है. I just put out a poll in the chat. Chat seems to think that Bottas is going to finish in the top 5 today. So Anchal, these guys, most of them are agreeing with you. Okay, so just 5 minutes to go. I think they'll be on their reconnaissance laps, the drivers, which we learned about earlier a few streams ago. So other than these guys, Sid, any surprises for you today? Let's go back to the usual question. Who do you think will lead at the end of lap 1?
I think it'll be Verstappen, Ricardo, and Hamilton.
Verstappen, Ricardo, and Hamilton. So you're saying Hamilton will make up Norris. He'll overtake Norris and get into the podium places right at the beginning.
Yes.
Chat, let us know who you think is going to finish at the in the lead at the end of the first lap. Anchal, any thoughts on that? Do you see Verstappen losing his lead right at the beginning?
No, yeah, I don't think so. I think for the first couple of laps, Verstappen is going to maintain his lead, but I am not quite sure about him winning the race. I really think that the positions 3rd to 6th is very hungry to win the race, and they are also capable of winning the race today. They have the pace, they have the hunger, they have the technique. So I really think that he's going to have like mad competition winning the race. But he's going to keep his lead initially, and then of course we have Ricardo behind him, who is known for his overtaking skills, who knows Max inside out. So he of course has an advantage over over overtaking Max. And I think if both, this is me being very hopeful, but if both Ricardo and Norris manage to overtake Verstappen, then then the podium is not there for him.
Oh, he'll be out of podium also then.
If both the McLarens manage to overtake him, then it's very difficult. Then they keep defending.
Yeah.
They'll keep defending.
And Hamilton is so much faster than him on this track that he'll probably overtake.
So the problem will be both these cars ahead of him and then Hamilton behind of him, and also we are leaving Hamilton out of this hypothetical scenario. It's possible that Hamilton also overtakes. He's not like a novice or rookie. He's also there, and he is there to win a championship. So he has a lot at stake. Of course, he has the pace, he has the pole position, he has a championship winning car. Everything is there, but for some reason, I think that today it's very difficult to maintain his lead. Eventually, initially he'll be okay, but eventually it's very difficult.
Agreed. Sid, any surprising things that you're expecting from the race today?
So I think Norris will Hamilton will overtake Norris in the first 2 laps, and apart from that, we can expect Leclerc or Sainz to kind of gain some positions earlier on the race, or Vettel starting 11th and Vettel gaining some positions from behind. So, and you never know what Perez also does, because Perez is known to have that race pace, because he clearly doesn't have the pace in the quali. So we never know. Perez may overtake both the Ferraris and kind of be at us.
I think it's going to be Hamilton who's going to win the race. Verstappen will figure in the podium, and it'll be one of the McLarens, which will be at number 2, and Verstappen will be at 3. I think that's the way it's going to go.
इतना permutation combination होने वाला है, मतलब जिस हिसाब से grid is.
Yeah, it's actually a very exciting race. It's a very exciting race. The top 10 grid, it's very exciting, and that's why we have so many podium combinations. He has a different one, you have a different one, I have a different, and of course the people in chat have a different one. So because the top 5 is P1 to P5 is so, I don't know, we have not seen that kind of positions in the entire season this season. So abhi thoda to wo hone wala hai, but I don't think it's Hamilton today.
You don't think?
Or maybe it is.
Today?
Or maybe it is. Hamilton is always you never think it is him, but it's always him.
Yeah, he's never out of the game. Everyone's starting on mediums. Most of the people are starting on mediums actually, except Hamilton, who's starting on the hard tires. So it seems like a one-stop strategy for everyone, as Ganesh in the chat is saying. Kitna, Sid? One-stop strategy?
हाँ, मुझे लग रहा है one-stop होगा. Yeah. I think Red Bull will make this guy start on hard. Perez is starting on hard or mediums?
I missed that. I'll check it. But is that a stormtrooper? Do they have stormtroopers? कल देखा था तुम लोग ने? They got that Olympian sprinter to be at the starting grade of the sprint.
मुझे समझ ही नहीं आया. वैसे थोड़ा भागा वो और रुका. बोला कि ये सब क्या करवा रहे हो? उससे पूरा ट्रैक भाग के बोला ना.
Sid is an Olympic medalist. वो अभी जीत के आया है. And he is from Italy. तो उसको लेके आए थे sprint race.
अच्छा वैसे. मेरे को समझ में नहीं आया कि क्या था. वैसे पर अच्छा था, it was a good gesture ऐसे.
Yeah, Monza taking cue from the Dutch GP, and they've got their own flair this time, red colors. Okay, so the formation
Tifosi has
lap is
always
on.
been famous.
Yeah. Thank you guys for being here today. Thank you so much, Anchal, for joining us. It was great
Thank you
having
for
you
inviting
on.
me.
Thank you so
We
much.
hope you'll come back again one day.
Sure.
And yeah, and thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you, Sid. As usual, if you guys like the stream, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We will be back with more F1 content. And also, we're putting out some cricket videos in the coming weeks, so do tune in for that. There is also football happening, so look forward to a lot of those things. And I think the formation lap is done. We're going to kick things off. Once again, thank you, everyone, and bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye guys.